There's no business like the XJW business. That's the only business we know. No, I'm not doing an Ethel Mernham. Pretty close though, wasn't it? She shouts that, don't she, when she used to sing that when she was on stage. Really shouts it and belts it out because she absolutely loved the business that she was in. Now, did we ever love the business we were in? The religious business of converting people with threats. Yeah, threats. Yeah, you used to disguise it, didn't you? We used to say, wouldn't you like to live on a paradise earth where we'd be free from getting sick and that kind of thing? Well, everybody would say, yes, well, of course. But then you'd have to then qualify it, wouldn't you, and say that, oh, this is something that can only happen under a righteous new kingdom. There's no business like the XJW business, because that's the business we know. And that's because we never, ever looked at other religions. So we don't really know, do we, whether those other religions had a lot of goodness about them. Now, you just wouldn't dare to delve and look into perhaps, say, a cult of the Scientologists, would you, back then? If you were found to have looked into them while you were a Jehovah's Witness, you know, it's likely that you'd probably receive a judicial calling by 3 elders wanting to know what the blazes is going on, why you're curious about a sect. And that's why we could never really find anything out. I mean, human nature says that in these other religions there will be some pretty decent and honourable people. That's just human nature. You get your good ones, you get your bad ones. I think that's just the law of averages. And I should imagine that in every religion that you know about, there will be some that you would want to have a friendship with because you would respect them. And we weren't able to explore that possibility. The closest I ever got to that was back in the 80s, right? And my Auntie Nellie came to visit us, and she was a devout Catholic. And she was a lovely person, was Nellie. Beautiful heart, do anything for anyone. A budding actress, you know, she loved her acting on the stage. And she came to visit us, and my mum just let fly with her JW indoctrination without really having any thought to Nellie's religion, other than the fact that she wanted to bash them. And I was a bit embarrassed about this, I can tell you right now, hugely embarrassed. And I remember apologising to Nellie. I'm sorry about that. And Nellie just tried to cut the visit short so she could get away, and I couldn't really blame her. And that's the way we used to be. We used to just, well, not me, you know, leave me out of this, but when I say we, I'm talking in the collective sense, you know, those that were pretty brainwashed. And used to go out, and they used to just, they were like a cobra, weren't they? Some of them, on the ministry. If there was that little spark of interest, they were like that. Little cobra strike like that. Oh, there's some interest there. Let's exploit that. I never did that. I'd rather have made sort of friends with someone, found common ground, and I didn't always just steer them like a lot of pioneers used to do. I worked with so many pioneers. I mean, I pioneered myself, but I've worked with so many that used to steer people, and some were quite salesman-like about how they used to do it. And I often used to feel, well, what's the difference between what he's just done there and me going into, say, a Ford car showroom and speaking to the salesman, that salesman is going to take me through the same pitch to sell me that car. He's going to tell me the good things about the car. He's going to listen to me, but only for a little while, until he can get his point across to me. And that's what a salesman would do. And then he'd start steering you and leading you so he can make that sale on that new car. And I've met loads of salesmen, and I don't like them. And I don't like their personalities. They all seem to be made of the same material. But some pioneers were just no different from that. They had that sales pitch in their personality. And I never used to like or enjoy working with a brother that was like that. I always found it a bit insincere. So I used to always try work with ones that had a bit more humility. You know, they weren't super overly confident with their own speaking ability, but the humility was enough for me to always want to work with them. And I used to seek them out. They're the kinds of people I'd seek out, and not your boastful ones, you know, them that are legends in their own lunchtime, which I've seen many of. You know, I used to think like there were two types of Christians, right, when I was a Jehovah's Witness. They used to get the roller coaster Christians, right? So when they were on and up, they'd be pioneering, doing 60 hours, 100 hours, whatever it was that they used to do back then. So they're climbing up that roller coaster like that. They've pioneered, they've got their name mentioned by the congregation. So-and-so's pioneered this month. He's done 90, 120 hours or whatever it was. So they're like that at the top of the track. But then it levels out, and the next month they're right down there. So they're your roller coaster Christians. And then you've got the other type of Christians. They're like plodders, right? They just have this set pace, and they don't put a massive sprint together. They just keep at the same pace, which is not a bad thing, just to keep at that same pace. So they might just be those that will auxiliary and do, say, 40 to 60 hours. And they're just going along at that pace. And that's all they can do. And that's great. If that's all they can do, that's fine. I was in that category for a while. And I would prefer to have been a plodder. And it's your plodders that are likely to stay longer as a Christian than your roller coaster up and down Christians. They're too emotional. And I think that within that religion, you would find the two types. That was it. That's what used to sum up the majority of the people. You're either a go-getter, roller coaster Christian, or you're a plodder. Now, I remember one elder making a huge insult to those that were plodders. He shouldn't have done this, it wasn't fair. And he said there were some brothers and sisters in the congregation who are pussycat publishers. And I thought, well, what's he talking about now? He did have the habit of coming out with some outlandish things and working it in to a particular talk. So he was going on about these pussycat publishers, and there was a lot of question mark faces in the meeting on that particular Thursday night. And he knew that people didn't get it. So he said, well, I'll explain it this way. The pussycat publishers have to get me hour in for the month. Me hour in for the month. Because to remain a publisher, you just had to get at least 1 hour in, didn't you? To remain in that status as a publisher, as a Jehovah's Witness. You remember this, don't you? And he said, I've got to get me hour in for the month. Very Lancashire speaking voice he had. Meowing for month, Pussycat Publishers. And that is the level of insults that we used to put up with in our congregation. And now I'm an XJW and I don't attend. I don't have to listen to all that insulting talk anymore. So that's a good thing, isn't it? That I don't have to listen to that again. Right, okay, so there's a few upset people at the moment. Don't want to name anybody, but it was a bit heartbreaking to see some really distraught XJWs who feel as if the work that they've done doesn't seem to have been to any avail. Although they didn't say it like that, but it came across like they're thinking that in all honesty and sincerity, they do what they do, and they don't sort of count the cost or get the checkbook out or make a begging video. And it doesn't seem to be working, because those that do exploit the system of being an XJW seem to be profiteering and going on to strength, even though their character speaks volumes as to them being completely insincere. Well, I just want to say to those that were upset and distraught, and they had a few rants about it, that's for now. But all things will get settled in the end, I'm sure. Now, the majority of really astute and intelligent XJWs will see what is really the truth here. And if the ones that don't want to look at the truth in that regard, well, they're likely to be exploited. And I'll just hold my hands up and say, if you get yourself exploited, you know, you've only got yourselves to blame. Like Mike said, do your own research. Very few XJWs do their own research. Stop relying on one individual to try and put all the answers or all the jigsaw pieces in for you. Don't do that, because he's only going to do it to how he sees it. It might not be completely the right way. You need to do your own research, and then you'll start putting the jigsaw pieces in yourself. Then you can stand back once you've got the bigger picture, because you've put the effort in, you've got those pieces in, and the whole thing is starting to look familiar to you. You're suddenly seeing a full panoramic view of your XJW life. And you didn't then have to worry about someone else telling you what that view was, because you put the research in, like Mike said, and you've got that and come to that conclusion yourself. Then you can pat yourself on the back. You XJW, you that have recently left, you can pat yourself on the back, congratulate yourself, because your research has led you to that conclusion, and you didn't have to have someone tell you. Now that's the way to go. That's what everyone should be doing. Do not rely on any single ex-Jehovah's Witness telling you what is what. Always question. Even though you weren't allowed to question things as an attending Jehovah's Witness, now's the time to question everything. That's what I did. That's why I fall out with quite a lot of quite well-known apostates, because I call that their complete tripe for what it is. It's not true and sincere. If you want an example of how to measure this out, you look at what Jesus did. He offered a free gift. 3.5-year ministry, where lucky people had the chance to listen to the greatest wordsmith the world has ever known, Jesus Christ. Those lucky people that had saved up knew that he was going to be speaking in a certain town. They turned up, They listened, they were spiritually fed, and they went away satisfied. But they didn't go away skint, did they? They didn't have to sign up and give money to hear him speak. And that's what you need to make your measurements on. When you see a YouTuber that is asking for money, you would need to say to yourself that some of the greatest speakers in the world offered that gift that they had free. Did Martin Luther King charge money for the messages that he put out? I don't think he did. I don't have any evidence on the internet that would say that he charged for people to come and listen to him. Because I think it was within his personality to free as many people as possible. And I think that the greatest speakers in the world and on YouTube should be offering that gift free. Not to put a value on it. But unfortunately, they will turn around to you and say, it's costly to make these videos. I need a cameraman. I need a video editor. Because they won't do it themselves because they're too lazy. They'd rather just sit in front of the camera and speak, but not go behind the scenes and do all the hard work. I think there's a lot for us to look at the moment regarding who is worthy of respect. That has to be earned. You might surprise yourself when you do your own research and you'll suddenly think to yourself, I didn't need to be subscribed to him. I didn't need to listen to his opinion. His opinion was so off base that it was actually a hindrance, not a help. I'll leave that thought with you. I'll see you all again. Goodbye.